See? So when you looked around campus, what looked different?
What looked different? I mean, what's that? What's that road here?
322?
Yeah, there used to be a big parking lot, and now that parking lot's gone. This place, Bozorth, pretty much looks exactly the same, except for some new flooring and things.
Okay.
I peeked my head into the RTN office. That is like the same mess of monitors and stuff everywhere. So I was like, good, nothing has changed. It's exactly the way it was.
And what classes did you have here in King Auditorium?
Lots with Donovan. I when I was in Rowan, I came in thinking film. So I took a ton of advanced film. I took film noir in here with Beeson. I liked the film aesthetics. But as I went through, especially with like RTN, like I started to shift towards television and like live production, doing the football games. That's when it shifted.
Mm-hmm.
So I did have like a full mix of both. I did cinema workshop, I did RTN, I was making short films, I was doing all of it, I was directing football games. Like I was just bored all the time, so I just always wanted to do everything.
So when did you start going with RTN? When did you get involved with RTN?
Oh, freshman year.
Freshman year.
Yeah.
What were the first things? What's your recollection of what you started doing at RTN?
So was it homecoming? All the sororities and fraternities built floats, right? And it's all the night before, right? So there'd be people shooting the building of the floats, and then no one would edit it. And it would just sit there, and it would just sit there on a tape, and I was just like, a freshman would be like, I'll do it. And so I edited a whole piece together. What's it called? What's it called when they do that?
That's not homecoming, is it?
It's homecoming, but they build floats, and it's all
They
the
don't
night
do
before.
it anymore.
Oh, no?
No.
All
They
right.
stopped a while ago.
So Tom
Yeah.
graduated in 2008.
Yeah.
So there's been some changes over the last 15,
Yeah, we
16
shot on
years.
tape and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's different.
All right, so that was your freshman year.
Yeah.
Okay. Were you a sports fan coming into school?
I grew up in North Jersey, so what I knew about Philadelphia sports was very little. And I was a sports fan. I was an average sports fan. I liked production. I liked the technical things. I also in high school, I took multimedia classes so that would be 2007. That's, I think, the same year that like YouTube started as like a dating app back in the day. That's what it was, as crude as it was. That's when I got into multimedia. So building websites in Dreamweaver, which doesn't exist anymore, but like actually coding websites.
Were you trying to get a date? Is that why you were working
No,
on YouTube?
it's just I don't know. It was a really cool time because it was the advent of this, that you could get a cheap camera, connect it to your computer, and edit a video. And it was like, that was the start. Mini DV was cheap. You could actually do this in your home. You could pirate Premiere Pro, which I did, and that's what I did in high school. And I'm like, oh, I was actually good at it. And that's why I went like here to Rowan, and just thinking I want to do something with cameras and video. And so I did film, I did TV, I just did all of it.
All right, so then your progression at RTN to eventually when you became president as a senior.
Mm-hmm.
So take me through that progression here on campus.
Oh, I was post-production manager, then I was tech manager, and then I was president. It's just yeah, Tom does everything. So there you go.
And then Tom gets an internship at?
I didn't know. So how I got the job at Comcast Sportsnet, Comcast Sportsnet just switched over to nonlinear editing. And they had a system called Velocity, which nobody knows about and it's now dead. I see Gaddy shaking his head. Great. So they needed nonlinear editors, people that could edit with computers. So Brian Dashevsky, Rowan grad, who's our media manager, contacted Ned Eckhart, who's now retired, but he was the head of the doc program. We need avid editors, because if you say Velocity, no one knows what you're talking about. So he's looking for avid editors, and I was editing my senior project. Tom knows Avid. he could help out. So interviewed with Brad now, who's now with CBS, head of content back then, and they're like, all right, we'll try you part-time as someone who can cut up video into VOs and packages, and that was it. I was just an editor helping the producers cut content.
And what does that tell you about what he just told in that story? What stood out to you, what he just said about in that story? It's no great secret. What was it?
You gotta do what no one wants to do.
No? Yeah?
Networking.
How did he network?
Through rowing.
Yeah, but a professor gets a call from a rowing grad who asks for a rowing student if he is capable, or she is capable, of doing X. And you so happen to be able to do it. Without that call, would you have gotten that opportunity?
No. And it was really like, I was like, oh, Comcast Sportsnet sounds great. Didn't know what it was. You probably even know that. Yeah.
I didn't
know what it was.
No.
I grew up in North Jersey. I was like more Giants, Yankees, Mets. That's all of my friends were watching the Devils. Okay? So come down here below this line, I had to learn Philly sports.
So early on in your career, you and I worked together, didn't we?
Oh, yeah.
What was the first thing? Do you remember the first thing? Because I do remember the first thing you and I did together.
Do you?
Yeah. It was a tailgate.
Yes, it was. I do remember that.
What did we do?
I think we were just interviewing fans coming out, or no, what was it?
I think we were doing a specific player, but you're right. It was a bunch of
Okay.
Interviews at a tailgate, as I remember. And they said, "Oh yeah, what we have is Finer. He's like," I go, "All right, who's this guy?" And we go out, and then he proves himself. So obviously he was talented. So yes, you have to have the talent, but to get the inroads, and then someone to say, "Oh, Finer can do it." Well, I didn't know who he was, and then I worked with him, and I go, "Well, this guy knows what he's doing." So that's how you make your break. Someone recognizes that you can do the job, and then what am I going to do next time? How many other times? I would then go, "Hey, are you available to be able to do this?" Because he did the job. So that's a learning lesson for all of you to recognize that you can, one, get in with hopefully good connections with a professor, with an alum, whatever it might be. And then once you get that chance, jump on it, get the job, do the job well, and then you're going to get asked again, and now you're in.
Yeah.
That's what happened with you.
I'll tell you this too, because editing on Harris Velocity is like a storage system, okay? And that's like how we stored our footage. So they're like, we'll throw in this editing software with it so it kind of works. So there's your whole package. So it's a terrible editing system. I get to Comcast Sportsnet. You spend a day learning from JPass how to edit, okay? And they're like, oh, okay, so it's like this. In Premiere, it'd be like this, but it's here now, and it doesn't really work too well. And it's like this. And you're like, okay, you're good. I have to do my job now. You just figure it out. So that was like my training introduction. So you sit in edit row. Producers would come by, and they would see which editors are open. And like, okay, he's busy. There's the new guy. All right, I'll see if I can go with other. So I'm just waiting for a producer to come in. So in that time of just waiting, I opened up the help, the instruction manual for Harris Velocity, and just learned as much as I could. And eventually, a producer came in and was like, "Oh, okay, let's do this." And I'm doing shortcuts they haven't seen or things they haven't done. Like, how did you do that? I was like, "Oh, I read the manual." So it was like little things like that. It was just like, okay. Eventually, they needed someone to take clips, edits, and put them on the website. And so that's, I guess I was sort of like full-time, like 2009. When I applied for Comcast Sportsnet, I didn't give Brad now a resume. I told him to go to tomfiner.com. And I built my website and all the videos I embedded on my website. And he was just like, okay. And for then on, he was like, TomFighter.com, go ahead, do this, do that. TomFighter.com, do this. So then he used someone for the website. And they're like, well, Tom knows how to put videos on the internet. It was a new thing. So, which is like crazy to think about. But it was like, this guy knows how to export videos, encode it, and then embed it in a Flash player, which Flash is dead, and put it on the internet. So that's kind of my inroads. Like Neil would come to me, other people would come to me because they knew, like, Tom, can you give me this clip because I want to put it on social media, or how do I share this to this person? So Neil would come up to me and be like, I got you. I'll send you a Google Drive, or I'll send you this. And you're like, right. And then I could send that to them, and you'd be like, yes.
All right, so that was 15 years ago. I still do it today to Lee. And I go, so we can get this, So.
Yes.
All right, so now you know a little bit about Tom. I think it's great when we bring back someone that went here, graduated 2008. They can relate to where you're at. I think hopefully you can learn a lot from Tom. He's been really successful at doing what he's doing. As you can hear, he was on the cutting edge when he arrived at Comcast Sportsnet, which is now NBC Sports Philadelphia. So I just think it's really an awesome opportunity. And I do see a number of people that are interested in production itself that are here. So hopefully they have some pretty excellent questions for him. Who wants to go first? Oh, I just set him up perfectly.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So when you got into Comcast Sportsnet, you were like one of the only people who like were good with the internet and putting stuff on the internet. Do you think that there's something new that someone who wants to be where you are, that a skill they can have that would be good at getting somewhere with?
It is constantly changing, which is awesome. My job is the best because I get to play with all the new things all the time. So whenever there's like a new feature on YouTube or Instagram or this or that, it's like, okay, they're doing it like this now. Let's see what this is like. They're like Apple Vision Pro. Nobody's gonna buy. I don't know. It's 360 video is very challenging, but 360 cameras are awesome. Play with them. They're the best. Like, I love playing with all the new technology. I always see them as like new tools. How can I use this tool? The 360 camera, when the Phillies were in the championship celebrating, we gave the 360 camera to Marsh, and he's running around like the locker room spraying bottles on everybody and like pouring the beer on the camera. It's awesome. And then me at 3 a.m. I get this 360 footage. And I'm like, okay, well, let's start here. He goes up to NOLA and then like pull it out. And like, I'm basically reframing the whole video to put on social media. Like, it's fun. Other thing to note is like, when there's new features, they reward you for using them. So if Instagram, TikTok just announced you can post images or posts like you would on Instagram on TikTok. You saw that? They'll reward you if you use it.
I didn't know that.
Because they boost the algorithm for when you do that. So you'll get more engagement if you try out their new tools. So whenever they have new features like that, I always play with them and see like, okay, cool. YouTube has a poll feature. Let's use that because if like in Call of Duty, they buff that in the algorithm, and then eventually they'll nerf it. So
how do you guys all pick that up? Like if he's telling you how you can boost your, knowing about the algorithm and all that. How do you know when you were acknowledging what Tom was just saying?
I know about that.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just like to research what gets the most amount of clicks and stuff. Like I'm not super into social media. I really only have Instagram. But like with YouTube and stuff, I saw that they were pushing out these community posts way often.
Yup.
So I was like, okay, why is that?
So
Yeah.
what should they be looking for to try to figure out ways for people to see their work the best way possible or as much as possible?
There's a whole bunch of tracking tools. You can see what posts do well. then try to break down why they did well. That's what we're always looking at. Like, it seems like always like magic when something goes viral. Like, why did this go viral? Why did this get millions of views and this didn't? Why did this podcast blow up and this one didn't? You just don't know. But you can look at the algorithm and be like, oh, okay, look at this. This has this. It's this region. It's this demographic. It was this time of year. It could have been, they were searching for this term and found us that way, and doing SEO and things like that. But there's always something in the sauce that's like, okay, this is what made this spike.
So you and I saw each other the other night, and we had Harper with 3 home runs,
Yep.
and you had Joel Embiid on the return.
Yup.
And you shared with me about the impressions that you had on NBC Sports Philadelphia's website. Why don't you share that story?
Oh, it's that. I mean, that was a wild night. But I mean, in that, I forget the exact number, but it was maybe 30 or 50 million impressions. Just of all of our posts put together, all of the video views, and impressions is what matters. So when you go to sales and they're like, okay, what kind of impact did your content have? You give them impressions. Views are different, but impressions that's like the common phrase. And that means you're getting your content in front of people. And it took me a while to realize, like, we're not selling games, we're not selling the broadcast, we're selling our impressions. It's all about gaining fans, gaining subscribers, getting a following. Then we go to sales and we're like, look, we have this many followers and we get this many impressions on this podcast. And they're like, all right, with that, if you get that regularly, then we can sell it to them. All right, we'll get you 2 million impressions over this amount of time, this many videos.
What is, like, after a normal game, whether it's Sixers, Flyers, Phillies, whatever it might be, Eagles would probably, I would imagine, be the highest. But what is, like, a good impression? Like, what is good for you? I mean, that night with the 30 or 50 million, whatever the number was, impressions is a little unusual.
Oh yeah.
But what is a normal night for you with impressions?
There's no like, sports is, it seems wild that sports, it's the guys just go out and play the game. It's the same game every time, same season, but it's all wildly different of what happens or what could happen within that game that would get us the most impressions. Sometimes it's something little, like a weird moment in the stands that all of a sudden you're skyrocketed. But I mean, usually, I want to say average, maybe like 10 million impressions across the board. But it's all different. It's all over the place.
Right. You didn't know going into that night that,
No.
you had Bryce Harper hitting 3 home runs, and Joel Embiid,
No.
he was actually listed as not playing, and then he
Nope.
all of a sudden decides to play. Justin, I want to bring you in. So just share with speaking about impressions, share with Tom what you do and how you built your brand.
I make motivational and like gym TikToks, and I also post it to Instagram Reels. And I've gained over 90,000 followers from TikTok and Instagram, and so I know a little bit about, like, the impressions you're talking about. How
Mhm.
many clicks you're actually getting, how many likes, how many shares. All those things are important, and then views come along with impressions as well.
And what would be your main question to Tom about how you could enhance what you're doing now?
I guess just reaching audiences that aren't really familiar with your topic, how you reach out to them.
Well, especially for something like Instagram, like pairing up with other brands, other people, other outlets, that's probably the fastest way to grow, to do those kind of collabs. Then all of a sudden your following is meeting their following and their following is meeting you. And that's how you see a whole bunch of, YouTubers and everything team up. Like, that's what they're doing. They're sharing subscribers. That's how they grow faster. But really, if you listen to your audience, and part of those, like, why videos do better, they do better because they're watching it. And if you listen to them and what they're kind of telling you, but with their views and their engagement, you can figure out what they want. And that's what it's always like, okay, this one did better. They liked it when I did this. And all of a sudden they're passively informing the content, with their engagement. So it's, they're like, all right, they like this. Let's give them more of this like this. We started doing like a whole bunch of tall screen videos, and they're like, oh, they like it when we have like the player sound on top and then the replay down on the bottom. I'm like, oh, cool. And they like the captions. And like, okay, let's give them more of that. Let's build templates to make that easier.
Yeah, and also you guys do like more mic'd up content now, and I feel like that gets a lot of views because it's like an inside look to what the players do like on the field and stuff, because we can't hear them talking on TV. So.
Oh yeah, all that stuff like we want the umpire cam, all those little things, and those play really well because they're really short and they're quick, and they sometimes, especially with digital content, getting to that 110% playback, the algorithm rewards you when you get somebody to watch your entire clip and then some, so it loops again. That's why people do those really annoying clips where it's like, and that's how I figured out why this happened. The video loops. Do you know what I'm talking about? Drives me. I don't like it, but that's how you get people to 110%. It's annoying, but yeah, that's a little trick. That's why they do it.
All right, Christine.
How would you say like comments on videos and posts influence what you guys do, whether good or bad?
One of our most popular videos is Jason Kelsey in the 51st Dates outfit. He wore it before like a preseason game, I think. But it was just like him like showing up to a game and he has this crazy outfit. And so I grabbed it and I was just like, all right, let me throw this up here. And I was like, guess what movie this is? And so everybody just had this compulsion to write, it's 51st Date, I know this. So they all comment, they all post on there. And that engagement just drove up the line. I was like, this is just a simple thing. But those comments, they're like, oh, people are commenting, they're engaging. That raises you up in the algorithm. But posting comments or getting people to engage or having a question with your post really helps. Sports, there's always a debate. So people love debating and giving their input. They're like, they want to be heard. Yeah, they'll engage with you if you just ask them a question.
Very well put. Let me go here. Yes.
So Premiere Pro, what was it like when you first got it?
So
Like, what's different now?
what's different now? Multiple aspect ratios. Was it the definition? I mean, I shot like HD was new. Like, yeah, we shot on a DVX 100, which is one of the best cameras ever. And we shot on tape. And I think even CS7 24p was broken. So we all wanted to shoot 24 frames per second and make it look like film. And I was like, oh, it's gonna look awesome. It's gonna look like film. And it was broken. So every time you tried to do it, it just like, I can't, my video's not working. I was like, it doesn't work. It's broken. It says there's 24p, but it doesn't work. But that's like, I love the media aesthetics things. And the little things like that, you're like, oh, you can shoot in 24p and get that look, that cinematic look of the movies, you can get it in video production. And people will notice the little things. Like when these like cameras came out, it was like the best because you could put a fast prime lens on there and shoot a beautiful interview with like nothing. And it's great. And it's like, oh, look at the bokeh on this image. So like, yeah, it was very different. But yeah, shooting on memory cards and all that stuff is way better.
All right. Good, Lee.
How does your job kind of break down now? Are you still shooting and editing, or is it more so you're managing projects that other people have created?
Yeah, I moved up to a manager, which is great. I do love being hands-on, so there's things that come up. like when Gaddy called me, he's like, okay, Kelsey's retiring today. Can we get a shooter? And I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. So I was like shooting off to the side and shooting the family when they're in the front row. I was like, yeah, I'll do that one today. That's the best. But yeah, otherwise I just kind of, help my team and, get them going on things. But I still like being hands-on and doing all that stuff.
What's the size of your team?
My team is 4, so we have an editor for each team, and we just go nonstop. And I mean, we're in it with Phil's today. So now that we're in the summer season, it's just like nonstop Phillies.
Do you work with the writers in conjunction with what you do
Oh, yeah.
video-wise? Can you share that?
Oh yeah. So I mean, with their game plan, all of our content is coordinated. If they're putting in a budget of, okay, we're covering this, they just said this at practice. We got a great soundbite from Nick Nurse. Like, okay, let's grab that feed, let's pair that up, let's break it down, put stats, graphics, and have that ready in about a half an hour to embed in their story to pair with it. So they're writing the story, they're getting that, and we're pairing that with the video content. Because the embedded video player does very well because it's our platform. YouTube and all these other platforms, you're playing on their turf. But for our website, when we get video playback, like we play the video, we get all the ads, we get everything. So those play auto starts at the top of the website are very important. So pairing that always is very important.
All right, we'll go here first. Yep.
What's your mindset before or prior to going into each project for each shoot?
The mindset? I mean, I always just have to look at the content. Like, what is it? For the because really it could like fit in a number of different boxes. And it's like, okay, the Phillies were at the ballpark today. They had all the glasses and they're looking up at the sky. Like, ooh. I was like, okay, what can we do with that? So I was just looking at it, I'm like, this is really, there's not much to this. So I took stills of Marsh and Schwarber, like looking up at the sky, and then I made a slideshow on Instagram, and the last slide was the trophy, the World Series trophy. And it was just like, so they have like a glint in their eye, and you're swiping through, and the last slide is the world's like, what are they looking at? So it's just, that's, how does that piece of content fit? But, that's always, I got to look at it. I got to know what it is. See, like, okay, would this work better as a tall screen on Instagram? Would this work better as a long form interview that we put on as a podcast, audio only? Do we do it at, YouTube? Like, where does this conversation fit? All these different platforms also have like different personalities and styles and aesthetics. And it's like, okay, where does this fit? And then you just kind of mold it to go where it needs to go.
What is the most important social media platform in your eyes?
In my eyes?
For you? Facebook is still freaking huge. It's like, as wild as it is, and it's like, oh, only, who uses Facebook anymore? Millions and millions of people still, like, our top stories get driven mostly from Facebook. Wow. And it's like, I only open it when I'm at work and to like post things and do stuff like that. But Facebook is still huge. And then, But not to this age group.
no.
Right. Okay. But this is just one part of
Oh yeah.
billions of people
Oh, yeah.
this age group. Right.
When
Okay.
you like we get all of our like search our website analytics, you're like, we can see where everyone comes from, and we're like, all right, who's sending us the most viewers? And it'll be like Facebook, then like Instagram, and Google up there. We're actually very lucky because we have crazy diehard fans that have been watching us forever. We get a ton of traffic from people bookmarking us years ago, and the bookmark is csnphilly.com. So this is years ago. People set up their computer. They're going to the old URL from our old website that redirects us to our new website.
Still to this day.
Yeah.
You didn't mention YouTube
Yep.
or TikTok.
I mean, they're all like important in their different ways, and they're really all copying each other. I love YouTube. That is like my favorite social media platform, and it is a social media platform. And TikTok is there too. I never got into it. It's kind of been a blind spot for me. But I think my generation loves podcasting, and I do a whole bunch of long form stuff like that on YouTube. But yeah, TikTok's all right.
All right, we'll do a brief little research here for you. All right, how many of you use Facebook? Okay, how many of you use Instagram? All right, how many of you use TikTok?
Wait. If you had to pick one, Instagram or TikTok? Instagram. TikTok.
That was a good question. Good question. YouTube.
Yeah.
We never mentioned X, Twitter. How many Twitter? So they're all over. Of all those, number one, to your point, number one. Okay, let's go. Just pick one. Just vote once. Okay, YouTube. That'll be your number one. Okay, you guys can't vote now. TikTok. Okay. Instagram.
Yeah.
Facebook. Not surprised. Did I say YouTube already?
Yeah.
What did I miss? Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay. Am I missing one?
No.
So
Threads. No.
that's right. Are you? Does that all jive with what you're expecting out of this age group?
Yeah. But I mean, we try to do it all. And really, if we have a really great story, I'm trying to fit that on every different platform. So I'll cut it in widescreen, I'll cut it in tall screen, I'll cut it in 1x1 for Twitter. If it's the best, I'll tailor that piece of content for that platform specifically.
Okay. Right here, you had a question.
Can you lay out your entire day, on an average day, how you wake up to the time you go to sleep?
From time, I'm.
Work, what
Well, you
do?
start with you brush your teeth.
Yep. I get up. I got 2 kids now, so I'm rushing to get them ready in the morning. But
What time do you wake up?
what time do I wake up? Like 6:30.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we got kids.
Pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, that's about right. I mean, I'm on our Slack. That's where I'm catching up everything that was like past game time, that I might have missed. I'm usually building. We do a 10 o'clock meeting. I'm usually building like our presentation of like, all right, this is what we're doing today. This is what we have on the slate. This is, the matchups for today. I'm always pulling the standings and showing like, okay, this is what shifted in the Flyers last night, or this past weekend. And then usually in sports, especially now, it is constantly changing of what's happening throughout the day. John Clark, I do a podcast with him, and he'll get like, okay, we got, the Ertzes. This was like 2 hours ago. We got the Ertzes this afternoon. Can we record a podcast with them? They got some time for me. I was like, sure. So did a podcast with them this afternoon. And then we're like, okay, coming up, this is going on, but breaking news, this person just got signed. All right, we have some content already pre-planned for them. Let's turn that around quickly. Let's have our writer do a video head, grab that piece of content, just send it out, turn them out.
And when do you leave the office?
This is one of the things that changed. We can work remotely. We can edit remotely. I can work from anywhere pretty much. So we have a cloud editing system, and I can just log on, and whenever things happen, if I get an alert, free agency was nuts this year for the Eagles. So it's just like, oh, okay, like I just got the alert. Let's log on and create a quick like they're going to do a breaking podcast in an hour. Let's get that done. Let's get that up. Let's churn and burn. So
Okay. Let me go all the way in the back. Go ahead, John.
So every sports team in the city has its ups and downs, collectively up and down.
yo.
But if you were in your current position and you have to help out the Oakland Athletics, what kind of product do you try to put out there to keep the fans engaged and happy, even when like the main account they don't turn their comments off because kind of that backlash was heard?
Oh yeah, I mean, we have some like we're broadcast partners for the teams, but we're also journalists and we have to be honest with the fans of what's being put out there. So our reporters, our analysts, we have to say it as we see it. So especially post game, Barkan and Ricky and all those guys, they will call it as they see it. And they'll tell the team that they're doing terrible when they're doing terrible. And I think we're pretty lucky in this area, especially with WIP and all these things, that even when the teams are bad, even when the teams are good, like that people love to just talk about the teams and what's going on. So downtimes are not great for viewership, but people are still talking about the team and they still want to know about the team, moves that are being made. What are the Flyers going to do with their goalie? This and that. There's always content to be generated around that.
John Carlo in the back.
I'd say other than the Super Bowl win, which like moment since you've been working with NBC Sports created the most like impressions or highest fan activity on social media?
The Kelsey retirement that just happened. Insane. The TikTok, we had a competition. Actually, like I was sitting across from my Eagles editor. He's like, "Oh, I got this great soundbite." And I'm like, "Nah, I think I got the soundbite." And he was gonna do the one where he's talking about his wife Kylie, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna do the one where he's talking about Travis, and he's like, when we were playing as kids and being in the Super Bowl." I'm like, "I'm doing this clip. You do that clip. We'll see which one does better." And he got like 8 or 7 million, and I got like 8 million. And I was just like, it's insane. It was, we had, I think on our YouTube, we had 60,000 people watching our stream because we were streaming it all at the same time. So everything that we put up was crazy because people wanted to see Travis. It was all the Swifties. It was all that stuff. Any shot of Travis would just like blow up. So we're just like, okay, we got it. Every angle of this, it was beyond Philly. It was, the whole nation was watching Kelsey. So the Super Bowl is big. That retirement speech had a huge impact. And hopefully, whichever media organization like backs up the truck for Kelsey, I hope it's Sunday Night Football because he would be great on NBC, but that's what I'm hoping.
You're a company man on that line.
Because he would be here and he could help. You would promote Sunday Night Football with us like every week. It would be great.
You're a smart man.
Yeah.
You're a smart man, Tom. Go ahead, Julian.
So you said you went to TV because you liked the live aspect, like with RTN. Do you ever get to do any live stuff now? And if not,
Oh, yeah.
why?
We do. I love doing live streams. We do live Q&A events. So we'll usually set up like we'll have a pep rally event where they have this like huge bus go around and the Fanatic will be there or, different things. And then we'll have our analysts come and basically answer questions with the fans. We'll set up a multicam. I'll do it all on, a couple laptops and an A10 mini and just like, I'll hook that up, find the internet and stream it out. So I've always been like the one-man band kind of guy. I have a team of 4 now with me that help me out, but I've always been the guy that's like, oh, well, Tom with a couple things could build a live production while the truck is doing this or doing that. We did Kelsey Beach Bash when he had his Ocean Drive fundraiser. We live streamed that through a TriCaster. multicam, everything feeding back to me, and then I was switching it and put it out on all the platforms. So it's like it's a great job because I'll be posting on Instagram, or I'll be doing live productions, I'll do podcasting. Yeah, for someone who likes tech and things like that, it's like the best job.
Beautiful. All right, Seth, go ahead.
How do you present a run-of-the-mill summer baseball game to boys and make that attention grabbing?
Yeah, there's a lot of baseball games. We have production calls before every game. We discuss the pitching matchup, whatever interesting aspect that may be going on. We'll find some kind of thread, and find something. And in those moments, especially if it's like a really boring game, maybe Kruk or the announcers will just start having fun, or like something random will happen. And in those little fun moments, that's what people love. That when Kruk says something ridiculous, it's like it's the best. They'll go off some tangent, and we'll find something great. It's usually just, in those low moments, actually fun stuff can happen.
So for like the editing aspect, for somebody that doesn't edit but wants to on their free time, is there a specific thing you would recommend they start with? Or would you just say like kind of go to your favorite social media platform and just mess around until you figure out?
As far as like you want to learn software, or like learn like how to do it?
Yeah, I feel like just like everything with it really.
It was LinkedIn Learning is great if you want to learn every single button and like what everything does. It's really long and it's really dry. If you can learn that way, it's great. Doing stuff is the best, and like finding a little project. So editing takes forever, but yeah. Or you can learn by doing. Learn the shortcut keys. Whenever with my team, I'm always trying to find a way to like optimize what they're doing. Like what's slowing them down, what can help them do this faster. We used to do a whole bunch of like After Effects graphic packages, and I was like, okay, they would have to build the graphics in After Effects, modify them, put in text and do this, export it, and then bring it in, do it this way. Then Premiere released Mogerts, and then you could build every single little comp as a Mogert. And they're like, okay, well, let's create Mogerts for every team and, customize them so they can just have a drop-down menu to pull the logo. They're like, okay, they're playing the Cardinals tonight. Boom, there's the Cardinals. It pulls up the colors, customizes the graphics like instantly. So, but LinkedIn Learn's great, really just doing it. And when something seems like, I think I'm doing this wrong, it shouldn't take this long to do this, or why is this so hard? There's usually somebody that's like figured it out to make it easier, or there's some tool or something. Closed captioning, there's like the new closed captioning tool in Premiere is awesome because it will analyze the audio, transcribe your entire interview, and you can generate captions instantly. It's the best. So we do that with all of our video. That also helps. I'm rambling now, but that also helps because the platforms are building keywords off of all the words being said. So if you search for a word and it's in your video, it is said, like audibly said in your video, it is searchable on that platform. So like all that stuff, it's great.
He also read the manual, remember?
Yeah.
He told the story.
No,
He read the manual. That's how he learned.
That is like one of the best pieces of advice like I can give you. You're gonna start a job and there's gonna be some weird software that they're gonna be like, this is what we use for building full screens or doing this or like something, and you're like, I've never used this before. Like, what is this? There is a help section at the top of that, software. open it up and just like look at it.
Question. So when it comes to, because you talked about this like a few questions back, when cutting content and having reviews, do you shoot 9x16 or do you shoot like landscape and then quick?
I've changed when Instagram first came out with IGTV, which was like ages ago. I built a rig to shoot sideways, and then but that's such a specific video or style, it's useless for anything else. And the same thing with shooting widescreen. So if we want something that can go multiple places, we'll shoot on a wide angle in 4K, and we'll turn on the thirds and just shoot to the center of the frame, because then you can have some pan and scan too, and you can move the frame around. And then we just got the new Osmo Pocket 3, which is a dope camera.
We were just talking about that.
As soon as they announced that camera, I bought it for myself. That is the best. It shoots 4K. It's a beautiful image. It can shoot widescreen and it can shoot portrait. But really, we shoot widescreen in 4K, and then we can crop in as needed, and still have the video for widescreen. Because that's the thing. Like, depending on the content, I want it to be able to go everywhere. So we'll shoot widescreen and then we'll crop in.
Carrie.
Okay, so for content that you want to go on like Instagram, YouTube, do you cut it differently? Like, yeah, like the ratio will be different, but will you cut it in different ways?
Yeah.
It's like anything else.
We just did. Paul Heyman from WWE went into the Hall of Fame. I cut a longer form video that was him talking about the ECW days here in Philadelphia. And it was him telling this story, and he kind of ends the story by like saying like, the Flyers and the Broadsheet Bullies, they gave us the template for ECW, and like that's how he kind of ended his bite. For Instagram and TikTok, I led with that bite, especially with the apps where you go like this, and you have that only half a second to get them to get hooked and like, why are you here? So the way we used to edit was putting the best content last to get people to hold on.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're cutting for social media platforms, you have to put the best thing first in that first second. So the amazing catch, put it first, that like right there, and then kind of work backwards. So yeah, you have to cut to tailor to each platform.
I've never heard that before. That's fascinating.
Oh yeah,
Because it's just different mindset than the way we've done it for
oh yeah,
forever.
I hate it, but that's like you. That's
But it makes sense.
yeah.
If you're scrolling through,
Yup. They have to know in that second of what it is they're about to watch. So you can do the trick. They're like, watch till the end or do this or that. But you have to get them in that moment as they're scrolling through.
does that make sense to you guys?
Be aware of like, as you're interacting with these platforms, what you're seeing, what you're liking. Why did I watch this video? And then you'll kind of figure out, what can you, little tricks for yourself.
Sam, you had a question. Go ahead.
When posting on social media, let's just say Instagram, for example, what time of day gets the most impressions?
Depends. All these platforms are differently. We would always do it. Our biggest traffic time is like 5 o'clock. People getting off of work, and they're like finally can sit and just look at their phones. That's our biggest traffic. Like that's we'll get our biggest YouTube numbers, things like that. Because of the algorithm, the post time that you'd get like boosted like on Instagram. Like, if you post it this time, you'll get more likes. The algorithm breaks all that because they're just feeding it as it's engaging. So YouTube especially, they are always working to try and get you views. So they'll surface a video, watch your feed, because you'll see the same video pop up multiple times. So you'll see it come up. You're like, oh, do you want to watch it now? And it would come back. I'll keep on coming back. So it doesn't really matter when I posted that video. They're going to keep on trying to get you views. They actually released a new beta, upgrade that you can have A and B testing of thumbnails. You can have multiple thumbnails. So I've seen the same video, but it has different thumbnails. Like, did you like it with this thumbnail? Did you like it with that thumbnail? And then like, did this one make you click? And it will actually pick a different one to serve. So thumbnails are important too.
Let's see. Jordan, okay, go ahead, Jordan.
So, go back to your origins a little bit. It's a two-part question. Where in North Jersey are you from, and why Rowan is your considered home college?
I wasn't a very good student in high school. I was good at video production. And when I heard of when I visited Rowan, it was like, oh, this works. I think this is good. I'm from right on the line, like the Flemington, Clinton area. So I would say most of the parents go to commute up to New York. There's some, if you go a little bit south, then all the flags turn into eagles. But it's there's it's that line is right there.
Okay. Carrie, you had one?
Yeah.
Okay. Giancarlo, go ahead.
What's been your favorite, I guess, moment or project? So work on, or work on.
This is gonna be really nerdy. So we had a show that was it was a weird Tosh Bueno talk show. It's called the 700 Level, and we had there's a blogger for the Phillies called Zoo with Roy. Okay, so he was anonymous. Okay, and he we wanted him on the show, but he wanted to keep his identity a secret. So he was like, okay, how are we gonna do this? And he's like, oh, we'll just put a picture of the penguin up there. And I'm like, that's kind of lame. And my boss at the time was like, can you make him talk? And I'm like, I think I can. So the Skype input, the phone line input, I had going into a program I made of the penguin. The penguin's, the mouth angle was tied to the volume input of the mic. So as he talked, the mouth would just talk. And I was like, oh, so my little bit of programming and it was everything. It was After Effects expressions and all these little things. I made that little penguin talk. That was the best.
I thought it was gonna be something Jason Kelsey related. Right?
No.
Oh, you well, hang on. You won't forget, will you? I'm gonna go to Noah first. All right, Noah, go ahead.
What was your favorite event at Rowan to cover when you were here?
The talent shows were really good. In the pit, we would do multicams. The step show was always a blast. And if you got to be the camera sliding in the pit, because we had usually the camera that was on casters, so we could they were doing the stepping right on the stage, and you could be that camera really low and then slide across the stage. It's the best.
There you go. All right, Carrie.
So, you weren't from the Philadelphia area, so you didn't know Philadelphia sports.
Nope.
Then you worked for a Philadelphia sports company.
Nope.
And how is that transition, to working with all these people that know all about these Philadelphia sports, and you don't?
Oh yeah, I just had to read everything, and just read all the articles. It's part of okay, before I go in, I got to do my homework and read about this matchup and who's this pitcher today? I don't know, because one of the first days I forget who was pitching that night, and they're like, all right, we'll get a picture of this guy. And I was like, is that him? And they're like, Jesus, God. And I think they're ready to walk out of the end of bed. I was like, ah, shit. So just read everything, and that was the other part of me, like trying to compensate for like my technical stuff. It was just like, okay, well, I'm going to be I may not know everything about Philly sports and the history, or I'm like, I'll try, but I'm like, I'll know how to do this editing software the best.
What are closing words that Aiden, did you have a question?
Yeah.
Let me get your question and then we'll
Yeah, I was
close it
gonna
up.
say, how was your like transition coming from like graduating from going straight to like a course Comcast course in Philly?
It was good. It was 2008, so like the whole economy had collapsed. So it was a little hectic, and I was happy to have a job, because especially like at that time everybody was struggling to have a job. It was working in a newsroom. It's a blast. It's so much fun. Everybody's got the game on. You're working with all these analysts and former athletes. It's a blast. And there would be multiple games going on and everything. And it's just like, wow, I get to work in this like weird, like magical factory of just like all these big personalities having fun. Get to hang out with Barrett Brooks all the time, and all, like, it's the best.
I will say this: the newsroom can be like a locker room. Sometimes we have to kind of tame it a little bit. Is that correct, Mr. Gaddy?
Different world now.
It is different.
Yes, it is. Back in the day, it was a little crazy at times, and our desks were right near each other. So,
But no, you have interviews with athletes. Like I have to take a camera into a locker room like all the time. It's crazy. These people are getting naked in front. Like, this is wild. Like, how does this make any sense? But it's like when we talk about like how do we change this? After a game, like maybe the athletes come over here, maybe they go over there. If you don't know, the Flyers have a fake locker room, and then they have a real changing room. Yeah. So like after the game, they'll go into their changing room, take off a couple pads, and then they'll come into their other like locker room to give interviews. So that's just how it works, because they have too much gear. But Eagles, it's like
wasn't always like that, by the way.
no.
No, nowadays it is. Your closing thoughts and what you would tell these students, some of them who are graduating in a month or so, what would you tell them about approaching the workplace as they leave college?
Read the manual. I think that's the main thing. That will help you a lot, because everyone's just going to stick with that half a day training they got the first day. But if you do your homework and like read the manual, I did have a thought. The eclipse. Okay, so the eclipse today. Everybody saw it and kind of went, "Aw." But if you've been watching the media, it's been a month long of the eclipse is coming today, and then this is what's going to happen. That's hours and hours of content that was generated for that eclipse we just saw this afternoon. That was a total bust. That is a perfect definition of like working in sports.
Well, a total bust here might not have been a bust everywhere.
Oh yeah, but when going from, I always think back to the Will Harper sign with the Phillies. The bigger piece of bigger impressions we got was all the lead up to that moment. Once we got him, it was kind of like, oh, we got him. Oh no, he's gonna we know exactly he's gonna have terrible on base percentage, he's gonna turn into Harper. But that month before was like this magical thing where people could be like, oh my gosh, we could get Harper. It's the NFL draft of what is Howie gonna do? What is the unknown? Like, you can make content about that all you want. As soon as they make a pick, it's almost like boring. Yeah. It's like, we know who it is. The question has been answered. So once you playing with those unknowns, that's the best.
Let's give a round of applause, Tom Finer. Let's see.